Go ahead and start.
Okay, well, welcome to August Ask the Expert webinar. And today we're going to talk about what's in the pipeline for food allergy treatment with a real focus on what's going on at Sean Parker and what we've got now and what looms. So if you could advance a slide, that would be great. Because the story of food allergy desensitization, when things got really started to seem possible, was in 2009, when after many attempts at OIT, there was a protocol that seemed to work, and it's the Duke University of Arkansas protocol. And the publication date of that, it went up in May, but I think it was August when it was finally in the journal, and it sort of changed things. Can we advance the slide? And we went from that, from small doses of peanuts, slowly, to Palforzia, which when it hit the news was a first drug treatment of peanut allergy for children. But as most of the people who logged in today know, is really just peanut protein, much like what the kids who were in that Duke and University of Arkansas study got, and what we use at Sean Parker, because the goal is to get people eating real food and not to be dependent on peanut-like products. Can we advance? Okay, so these are the studies that we have happening at Sean Parker now. Many of them are food allergy studies. We have some prospective studies, Sunbeam and Seal, and then there's an immunology study, but we're going to focus on 3 of those studies first. Can we advance? Outmatch, Magic, and Combine. Let's go forward a slide. So 3 of the trials happening at our center now use medications that are already approved for other diagnoses, and this means that they've got a track record for safety. And we're using them to see if they enhance the safety and the efficacy of food allergy treatment. Let's advance the slide. Okay, so Outmatch is one of these studies. It's a stage 3 clinical trial, and it uses omalizumab as the only drug to make multiple food oral immunotherapy safer. And there are 3 stages. Every single patient in that study has to be allergic to peanut, and then there's a list which is posted there. And the participants need to be allergic to 2 of those foods. If they're allergic to more and they fail food challenges to more than just 2, they need to pick 2 foods so that every person who's participating in Outmatch is allergic to 3 things on the list, peanut and 2 others. Let's advance the slide. This is a cartoon of what the drug does. Omalizumab binds basically so that allergens cannot. It sops up the allergy antibody, and it was first approved for use in asthma. It's approved for use in chronic hives, and it's more recently approved for use in nasal polyps. So it's got plenty of indications. And Outmatch, which is happening all across the country, as well as at Sean Parker, is looking at whether it's a handsome adjunct to oral immunotherapy. Let's advance the slide. So another study we have that's using medication to enhance the safety and efficacy of oral induction of tolerance is Combine, and it uses both omalizumab and dupilumab in that order. And just as with Outmatch, kids and adults who are in the study have to be allergic to peanuts as well as 1 or 2 other foods. So there's a little bit more flexibility. And people start with an induction phase with Xolair, and then they begin their food, peanut and 1 or 2 other foods, with dupilumab. Let's advance the slide. So this is the Xolair slide that we were just looking at, and dupilumab is very similar to omalizumab, but it acts a step before. So in the allergy cascade, it arrests near the end, which is why side effects are so minimal. Let's advance the slide. So Magic is a similar study, but it's for kids or adults with milk allergy, and it doesn't use omalizumab, it just uses dupilumab. Let's advance. And dupilumab acts sort of before the step where omalizumab would be to bind up the allergy antibody. So the things that would trigger manufacturing of allergy antibody are arrested. Let's go forward. Okay, so with these three studies, the question is, when we have drugs that are already on the market, they're already approved, they have a nice safety profile. When we use them in food allergy protocols, do they enhance what you get? Do they make it safer? Do they make these protocols easier for patients and participants to tolerate? Let's move forward. Next slide. And it appears to work. And to that end, ligelizumab is sort of a souped up, the turbo version of Xolair omalizumab. It binds at more sites, so it sort of binds more tightly. We call that avidity. And that is being studied in peanut allergy at other sites and may come to Sean Parker. Can we advance the slide? Okay, we can advance. That's just a cartoon. All right, so something else that is in clinical trials and may come to Sean Parker is a core, that's the name of the company, product, which has peanut protein, so a purified peanut protein, which is very much like Palforzia, but it's not administered orally. It's administered via an IV infusion. And that's kind of exciting because if it works and it's safe, we can get kids eating peanut with minimal resistance because it is very hard to build up. Let's move forward. There have been studies that look at what can be added that's not pharmacologic, or that is, but is not a marketed drug, to enhance tolerance in food allergy studies. And probiotics can help with GI symptoms, but they don't accelerate the dose of peanut that can be ingested, and they don't increase the end dose. So let's move forward. And that's kind of where we are, what's in the pipeline. If there are questions, I'd be happy to take them. That was quick.
If there are any questions, please type them into the Q&A box, and Dr. Fast will answer them.
Thank you, Danae.
And thank you, Dr. Fast, for joining us today. This is Tina Cinder. We're so excited to have you present today. So thank you.
I suppose the silence indicates that we do need more things in the pipeline, but those will come.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Yes, I can. I just wasn't sure if you could hear me. I was going to say that, these are just kind of the studies that Dr. Fast mentioned are kind of what are ready for prime time human clinical trials, or just kind of advancing it. So phase 2, phase 3. There are many, many, many more studies, biologics, different strategies in the works that are still in the mouse model stage. So being explored in mice. We didn't talk about peanut patch here, but that was something that was being explored previously, and they are continuing to explore that. And that is also a great option for those where OIT may not be feasible. And of course, with biologics, Dupixent, as Dr. Fast mentioned, omalizumab, as she mentioned as well, those are kind of the ones we know the most about, but there are other biologics being explored at the same time that are approved for other atopic conditions. And so safety, again, is well recorded, but whether it's actually helpful in the setting of oral immunotherapy is what's still pending. So thank you.
All right, well, that was quick. Two things went into the question, and one was just a hello, so the others answered. We can return to our regularly scheduled lives.
Yeah, and Katie, do you mind the one that you typed the answer to? Would you mind saying it out loud for any
Sure.
folks who are on the
Sure. It
phone?
was a
Yeah,
question
thank you.
about how Xolair and Dupixent are different. And with many things in the body, there are cascades. A switch gets flipped, and then there's a fountain of effects. And the lovely thing about Xolair is that it works at the very end of that cascade, which is why it doesn't interfere with so many things. When you are flipping through a magazine at the dentist and there are all these drugs that say they're going to fix your psoriatic arthritis or your ulcerative colitis, and you read the fine print, you're at risk for innumerable things because the drugs have to work so close to the start of an immunologic cascade. And what makes Xolair different is that it really is the last step that we've identified in an allergic reaction, I think. It right before something bad happens. And the handy thing about dupilumab is it's sort of one step before you get the trigger that Xolair acts on, which is why these are nice drugs to use in these situations, because they are safe. They have minimal risk to start with in theory and scant risk in practice.
Yeah, thank you so much, Katie. And to just kind of take one step beyond that, we found that, even though we define food allergy as one thing, it's variable in different folks. Different folks present differently. So, some are multi-food allergic, some are single food, some have asthma and eczema, and whereas others are just food allergic. And so the reason we need choices of biologics is to understand which may be better for one person, because not all drugs work the same. So as Dr. Fass mentioned, they work at different parts of the allergic cascade. And we suspect that, for folks that are not as responsive to Xolair may do better with dupilumab and vice versa. Currently, Dupixent works really well. It's already approved for eczema and asthma and now eosinophilic esophagitis. So we wonder if that's a better drug for those who have more abdominal symptoms, so more reflux, abdominal pain, maybe at more high risk for eosinophilic esophagitis. But that is being explored currently in our MAGIC study and our combined study to see if the rate and the kind of reactions we see are different when we use Xolair versus Dupixent. But yeah, great question.
And here's a question. How do people access the webinar afterwards?
I can answer that question. I usually go ahead and post it the next day. I need to prepare the video, making sure, and then upload it to the YouTube. So it will be on our YouTube page tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you, Lada. Great. If we're done, should we wrap up early today?
Yeah, and you should skip out and enjoy 16 minutes of sunshine.
Thank you for joining our webinar today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next month. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.